Hi, I'm Justin Freed. This is episode 92 of inThirty, and we're going to be taking you through Google I/O of 2013. I'm going to tell everyone who the special guest is first. Peter Teo is with us again. He is with us and wearing glass, right, Peter?
That's right.
Okay, and Harry Marks of CuriousRat.com. You are here with glasses on, right?
I have glasses, not Google Glass.
Okay, fair enough. And Haim Cohen of HeimTime.com is wearing glass and blah, blah, blah. And he doesn't get to say anything because we're going to move right into what the biggest announcement was at Google I/O today. And I don't know the answer to this because I know nothing. I had a very busy day. Haim, what was this? Give me a one-sentence overview of Google I/O 2013.
I can't. It was so incredibly long.
Okay, Harry, thank you. Harry, can you give some type of summation, please? There has to be some crystallization that.
It was focused on a lot more social features. Pretty much Google Plus in one way or another is connected into damn near everything they announced today. And there are a couple of extraneous things they announced for developers specifically, but for the most part, new maps, Google Plus overhaul, new chat, the whole thing, it all ties in together. It's all very social. Google is really pushing for its Google Plus network to be like the social network.
Peter, is that what you would say on balance is the most meaningful element of this year's I/O?
Yeah, I think so. I think the other big thing that I saw is the what do they call this? All Access, the music service subscription.
Yeah.
And maps.
So
Right.
So Haim, is this really Google Plus? I mean, this has been anticipated for quite some time. The evolution of Google Plus and kind of its tentacles expanding into all other Google properties. Is this a good thing? I mean, will I care after I get off of this Hangout and explore what the changes are in my Gmail account or something?
Well, everything is tied into Plus. And look, you know me. I'm the #1 Plus fanboy that you probably know. And so I can only say that this is a good thing. Everything being together, everything integrated, and I think it's done very, very well.
So, okay, Harry, is Haim's appraisal coming too early, or is it possible after this 3-hour keynote announcement to ascertain whether or not it is in fact working well already? I mean, or there's just the tip of the iceberg.
The problem is a lot of the stuff they announced isn't up and running yet. That I could see. I did get the new Google Plus layout. It's now 2 and 3 columns depending on your configuration. They're very heavily invested in this card system. So every little post is its own card. They now have relative hashtags. So, for example, Ian Betteridge, who I'm friends with on Google Plus, posted something. It's a picture of a little thing he got at his Star Trek Into Darkness screening, and it put the related hashtag Star Trek. So hashtag Star Trek. So it's reading what you're posting about and adding its own hashtags to it. So it's trying to bring you that Twitter or app.net feel to it as well.
So Peter, go
What I
ahead.
found interesting too is in addition to just reading the text that you post, it's also looking at your pictures.
Yes.
So one of the demos it did was it saw a picture of the Eiffel Tower and then it automatically hashtag Eiffel Tower, although there's no text at all about the tower in there. So
Yeah, that's kind of creepy.
We have two
it is creepy.
We have two glass wearers with us today. Do you think that pretends the type of search that Glass is going to do, contextual, based on what Glass sees, not based on what you say? You just kind of say, Glass, tell me what's up.
Well, the funny thing is, at some point, someone said, and I don't remember who it was, is that we're allowing photospheres in maps, basically your own version of Street View, which basically solves the brute force problem. We're just going to allow everyone to upload photos, and we're going to aggregate that and make into a Street View. So on some level, it's going into the Google search, and they're going to try and harness this data just as Google does, and we're trusting them not to be evil, and because I'm a Google fanboy, I really think that they're not trying to be evil.
Harry, is that the case?
Well, they're a major corporation. They're already inherently evil. And that goes for Apple or Microsoft or anybody else. So what I see this becoming eventually, specifically with Glass, because I don't think they're going to can it anytime soon, is that you're going to be able to, let's say you go to Paris and you're wearing Google Glass and you look at the Eiffel Tower. I imagine some sort of HUD where, it'll highlight the tower and then display a series of facts about it in the viewfinder there. So you can see everything about the Eiffel Tower as you're looking at it. That's where I see this going, because this photo recognition stuff they're using to automatically append hashtags to your Google Plus posts, it's creepy in a I can't believe they're able to do that kind of way. And it's creepy in a I can't believe they're looking at my photos kind of way too. But it's very bizarre how their algorithms are able to parse that information so quickly.
So it sounds like, okay, so social is kind of granted. That Google Plus is going to be the single sign-on system. It's going to be the single sharing system. It's going to unify Gmail with Hangouts, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah,
but it sounds
and there's
to me
the
like,
new photo sharing as well, too.
Oh, so I haven't even looked at that yet.
They brought in all these new photo features, so filters and auto enhancements, like mini Photoshop inside Google Plus, so you can really, make your pictures look good before they go live.
The evolution of Picnic, it sounds like. But Google Now and that concept of answering questions before they're asked seems to be the kind of fundamental push that they're making. That they're not going to put you in charge of asking the right questions. They're going to answer them for you, and they're going to tell you when your packages are going to arrive, and they're going to tell you what's going on around you based on your GPS coordinates and based on what Glass sees, what your smartphone sees. Was there any indication of how they're going to monetize this? Is the HUD that you described earlier, Harry, going to be littered with AdSense ads?
I totally believe that at some point in the future, Google Glass will have ads in it, because they declared specifically no third-party ads. They did not say that there would be no ads.
Okay, so
in a sense, it's already sort of there, because if you look at the Google Now cards, it suggests restaurants.
Right.
It's not a blatant ad, so to speak, but it's contextualized. You're there. It's suggesting a restaurant to you.
It's like a sponsored restaurant suggestion.
Yeah, it is not that far of a reach for them to say, yeah, I'm going to charge a restaurant X amount of dollars a month to appear as a Google Now card or on Glass.
So is the unwritten rule then or the written rule maybe somewhere in the Google kind of privacy policy or something, is that the only thing that they're guaranteeing is that when something is sponsored, it's going to appear as sponsored? I mean, they normally rely on their algorithms to determine what the most popular restaurant in the area is or what the best restaurant in the area is. Do we think, I mean, just this is the last kind of off-track question I'll ask for a little while anyway. Is that sufficient to put that sponsored by text on these contextual ads to protect them from kind of playing favorites, or is that not enough? What I'm getting at is, if you see on your Google Glass that this restaurant is suggested by Google versus suggested by your friends versus sponsored, are those three differences really important? And do they have to do that? Do they have to tell you why Google Glass is why Google Now is telling you to go to Bill and Bob's restaurant down the street?
I don't know if they have to tell you. I think that they just have to say, based on our algorithm, whatever that means, we think this is your best restaurant.
Well, even in the original iOS maps, before Apple took them over, you would find sponsored listings. So if you typed in sushi in your area, you'd get all your pins the way you normally would, but there would always be one or two that were a different color. Those were the sponsored sushi restaurants. They had Google AdSense on. So I still think you're going to get that, and I think marking them as specifically, this is sponsored by Google, this is because you're in the area and it's nearby, and you're in the area and this is what your friends liked. I think those are three very specific things people are going to want to know, especially the my friends went here and they liked it kind of thing, because now they're using Zagat to aggregate their user reviews and restaurant recommendations, which Zagat is all crowdsourced.
So you guys have seen a list of what Google announced. Is this an evolutionary year or a revolutionary year? I'm not sure. Like, there's no new Android version, but what is this? Small changes to a lot of stuff, or any big change? I can't really put my finger on that yet.
I feel like they're laying the groundwork.
Who was that, Harry?
I feel like they're laying the groundwork. Like they put in a lot of things today. They showed off a lot of things that are going to lay the groundwork for a lot of their future products. So the new maps they released or they showed off, it's coming out in the summer. The new Google Plus additions and the layout, all of this is very. It's like the mountain lion or I'm sorry, the snow leopard. Oh, and mountain lion of their whole ecosystem. They're laying the groundwork for bigger things to come. So it's evolutionary with the intention of becoming revolutionary.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that too. One other thing that was sort of not said is Google Wallet. I think they're moving away from NFC terminal payments. It's at least it seems that way to me, and they're moving more into the PayPal Square space. They talked about how it's going to be much easier for you to buy physical products on a web browser on a phone because you're using your Google account, Google Wallet to pay for it. And today I've noticed a couple of app updates already. Expedia, Priceline now accept Google Wallet as payment. So they're slowly kind of putting their fingers out there, and I think building groundwork to do a lot of stuff.
That's the thing, though. I mean, these stores need to start accepting Google Wallet. I know. I want to say Macy's does. Dwayne Reed, I believe. There are quite a few retailers who do, but not many of the ones I go to, at least. And so that's going to be a big thing for them. And going forward is they really need to get the retailers on board to start accepting this, because as of right now, if I'm shopping online, I use 1Password to fill out that information. If I'm not shopping on Amazon, if I'm shopping on some random website, I use 1Password to fill in all my login details or my credit card information because I have all of that stored in there. And that doesn't require any special infrastructure on the retailer's part. It's just a form fill-in. So
we have the other problem.
Really wants this.
Well, we have the problem of the secure element in the NFC battery pack, which Ars Technica did a good article on why that was an issue. Basically, the contactless payment is not the issue. It's that Verizon will not allow the secure element to be used, and that was causing the problem. And basically, I think what Google said, or at least I'm thinking, is that they don't want to fight this battle. I think they just don't want to fight it. They're losing on it, and people are laughing at them. So they said, you know what? We can't deal with Verizon. We can't deal with it. We're going to go Play Store. You want to buy your device that works on these bands. You buy it for this price. The S4 released on T-Mobile, $650. Buy from us. You get it. So same thing with Google Wallet. They can't win on that. So I think they're going to change the way they're doing it.
Well, Google Wallet was flawed from the beginning, the way they had originally intended it, because it was all based around NFC. So that required the stores to put in new infrastructure to carry new hardware, and also the OEMs using Android also had to put in NFC, and not all of them did.
Well, no, NFC is there. It's a secure element that they're not getting licenses for. NFC is in every new phone.
That's not
an iPhone.
It's not in every new phone, though. It's that's part of the problem, is that there's no consistency. So the retailers aren't going to put that new feature in at their stores if it means very few people are going to use it. I think that's why Apple was going with Passbook, because every store has a scanner.
Well, we're going to answer this question next week when we get the NFC person.
Right. I was going to say that we spend an extraneous amount of time on NFC in 30. Okay, so let's go feature by feature now. What is the Google Play Services thing that apparently is in Android and iOS and something else? What is this? Is this the Noah guy that was brought on board? Is this his thing? I have no idea what it is. I just see the name up there.
I'm going to let Peter take this one because I'm not totally following.
Okay, so there's a couple of things. One is application sync. It's been a big issue for Android devices for a long time, where you buy a new device, your applications sync in the sense that they're installed, but your login information, your progress in the game, that's not there. So you start over fresh. That's been an issue for a long time. Apple did, to be honest, did a much better job of that. You bring a new iPhone into your life or whatever, sign in, and all your applications are restored back to the way they were. So I think they're trying to address that. So that's one of the Google Play services that's really makes a lot of sense. The other part of it is kind of related. It's game syncing. So instead of having just your one device sync, it is cross-platform. So if you have the same game on an iPad and you also have a Google Nexus 4 phone, you can sync your progress in both areas, on both devices. So I think
very game centery.
Yeah.
Is this infrastructure that links not Game Center purchases with Google Play Store purchases, but game progress across the two stores? Is that the most meaningful thing that it does here?
Right.
So you're saying
on our side. So on the non-developer side, it does that, and I don't remember how Game Center actually works, but here is if they're in your circles, you can invite them. Whereas in Game Center, they had to be in your contacts, or they had to have contacted you in somehow. So it opens up to more friends, I guess.
The social layer, then, Google is going to allow iOS developers to tap right into Google Plus to link people up alongside Game Center. It sounds like this is the type of thing that Apple might.
I don't know if that's even possible.
Game Center. No, so you could invite friends. So if we want to play Angry Birds with friends, I can invite my Ingress circle, compared to having to make sure everyone in my Ingress circle is duly linked to me, friends, and I'm friends with them. So it's an asynchronous, hey, I want to play, this person's a really good game person, so I'm going to play games with them. I don't necessarily need to be their friend, as long as one of us does the invite. I think so.
There's some stuff that's not clear here. So they say cloud save, and what I'm wondering is, and this is something I would love if Apple put in, you take a universal game like Angry Birds. Well, Angry Birds isn't universal, but Batman: The Dark Knight Rises. I play that on the iPhone, and there's an iPad version too, but it's the same app. It's universal. I would love to save on the iPhone and then pick it up on the iPad, right after that, and pick up where I left off instead of having to play two separate games on two separate devices, even though it's the same game.
That works.
Right. That's exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what they're trying to do. So as long as your developer who wrote the app supports that, in fact, it's cross-platform, so you could play on the iPad and also on your Android tablet and have the same game.
Do you think?
Okay.
Do you think it's ever possible that Google will subsidize people who have purchased Angry Birds on iOS by giving them $1 off the same game on the Google Play Store? Because it seems like this is the first way that they're trying to give you an easier way to either, one, have an Android tablet and an iPhone, or two, move from iOS to Android. I mean, could that be the...
Well, the other part of that was the money. They were talking about how much that they've made more money in the last 3 months for developers than the last year. So the money aspect, that was the big problem. No one wanted to pay.
They didn't announce
Android
numbers,
was
though,
free.
did they?
Well,
they didn't announce numbers.
3 times zero, Heim.
No. I think they did. I think they said they've paid $1 billion or something like that. They did announce a number. I just don't remember what it was for. And they said, look, we understand this and we're trying to make it better. And by doing all these things, so you can put SEO, you can do all these developer tools, do translation,
that's just
do all these things.
I was just going to bring up that, going right into that, part of the way they're going to try and streamline all of this is they've announced Android Studio, which is Xcode for Android. So you can develop your apps for all the different device sizes. And this is actually kind of scary. In the screenshot on The Verge, we'll throw links in the show notes. In this photo, there are 6 different devices at 6 different sizes that you can test on, which
Does
is
that matter if it works?
Well, that's just it. It goes into the whole fragmentation thing, and part of the reason I think a lot of developers don't develop for Android first, or at all, is because they have to accommodate so many different sizes.
But there are
so maybe this will make it easier for them.
There's 6 iOS sizes also.
Well, no,
they're bitmaps. They're not SVGs. They're not scalable.
No, but the iPad Mini runs at the same resolution as the iPad and the iPad 2. then you have the iPad Retina, and then you have the iPhone and the regular iPhone 4, 4S, and then the iPhone 5. The iPhone 4 doesn't require too much tweaking to get it to the iPhone 5. So you have several device sizes, but it is not as inconsistent as Android has been.
It seems like if between the fact that Apple has fragmented its screen sizes at least over the last couple of years, and the fact that Google is seeming to address the developers' issues with developing for multiple devices, maybe that will become less of an issue. It'll make the choice harder for developers. Do I only do iOS or do I only do Android? Or
right.
Do I,
I'm looking forward to reading some reviews of this software from developers to see what they say about it. It looks very Sublime texty. It looks really nice, actually.
Harry, to do that, you're going to have to go on Plus. I don't think too many Android developers are going to be on Twitter.
I'm sure someone on app.net will do a write-up.
I'll wait for the Scoble shower review.
Okay, so Google Play Music All Access. First of all, that is 5 words, about 39 syllables. Do we need another one of these? I mean, use Spotify.
Isn't that the problem? Like, they didn't really separate themselves from what Spotify does. It's just another streaming service. And they didn't announce who they're tied in with either, like how many songs they have or anything
I'm sure
like
that was done on purpose.
Yeah, because they don't have much lined up. That's the only reason.
They signed 2. They signed 2 out of the 5. But they didn't want to say Spotify killer. I mean, Apple doesn't do that either.
No. Say, I'm not saying Spotify killer, but like they didn't announce any separation. Like, we're doing things different than what the other guys do, and here's how, because they're not.
Well, they did. They said that we're using our knowledge graph to figure out what you like, which is basically we're doing what Pandora is. We're looking through your music. We're looking through other people's music, your friends' music. I think they did a good job explaining what it does. But it wasn't out yet to actually play with, and then it says, "Oh, $7.99 a month," and
$9.99, $7.99 if you do it before June 30th.
That's another subscription service that I will not be subscribing to, but that's a different story.
Well, that's just it. If you're already on Spotify or Rdio, there's really nothing pulling you off unless you are like gung ho into the Google stuff.
Does this seem that between Facebook and Google and Apple that they're just trying, and Amazon for that matter, they're just trying to collect as much data on their customers as possible and convince them that they're like a weird guy at a bar. They're like, yeah, I know you really don't. Haven't I met you before? Let me buy you a drink. Is there some advantage to going all into Plus? Are you going to actually enjoy the recommendations from the Google All Access stuff better than you would from Spotify? I don't.
Potentially. I mean, again, as we mentioned earlier in the program, is that they're using the social fabric, right? Everything's tied to Google Plus, so your friends are there. You know what they like. You might like similar kind of music, and learning about who your friends are and what they like, what you like, putting that all together, and then giving you better recommendations. Technically, I don't know how that's going to turn out in practice, but that's their value proposition. That's what it's selling.
Right. And presumably, if you post on Google Plus about specific groups or songs you're listening to, I would assume that it looks at that too and says, "Oh, he likes AC/DC, so here's Appetite for Destruction," and that kind of thing.
Right.
So does this give an incentive to Facebook and let's just say Pandora, and Spotify is based pretty heavily on Facebook Connect, but doesn't it give them an incentive to wall off the preference data from the other guys? I mean, it's now Google is in the subscription game. Why should they give their knowledge graph data to Facebook, and why should Facebook share it with Google, and on and on and on? It seems like the walled garden is the wall is getting higher and higher, or there's more of an incentive to build it higher and higher. How do you choose? I mean, how do you choose at this juncture between putting all your music tastes into Google Plus versus the upcoming iRadio by Apple or something? What is the difference?
I think for everybody, it comes down to two factors: price and library size. You know, if Apple comes out with its own streaming thing, I think they could be the ones to really challenge Spotify and Rdio, because iTunes has almost everything you need. So as long as the price is right, I think Apple could definitely be a player in this market. Does Google have the clout? Not with a not with a K. Does Google have the clout to pull something like this off? I don't think so. They tried Google Music. It didn't really take off. And they're not offering anything different from Spotify and Rdio, which are two established brands. They're two big names. There's a 50-foot billboard for Rdio featuring Questlove right outside Penn Station. I mean, this thing is everywhere. And Spotify, too.
Super cool. So I mean,
Questlove is super cool. So, it's great. But though you've already got two established brands, and Google's not doing anything to really differentiate itself in the market, I don't see this going too far.
it seems like the difference between buying an album at, I don't know, Virgin Music megastores when it existed versus Walmart. Google is the Walmart of the music retailers.
This is coming from two people who don't use Google Music.
I did use Google Music. I tried to use it. I also tried to use Amazon, and just for my purposes, neither of them really worked. But I'm not the only one. I mean, have you heard of anything from Google Music up until today?
I think it's solely
we did a whole podcast on it. Remember, we did a whole podcast on it
when it first came out.
Peter.
Well, look,
So
I'm not saying
I do use. So I do use Google Music, and partly it's because I already have an extensive collection of CDs that I digitize. I've uploaded it to Google Music, so I have like 11,000 songs on there, and so it kind of ties me into that ecosystem already. The good part about All Access is that it doesn't differentiate between the music that you own that you've uploaded versus what's in the cloud. So it's all in one big bucket. You can create playlists across the songs that you own and the ones that you rent.
Okay, so we only have a couple of minutes left in this 90-second episode of inThirty before we get to the second half on Google I/O. So we'll save the Google Hangouts unification and maps for the next segment. What are the little things that have fallen through the cracks that we're not going to have time to talk about in the next half hour because maps and the new Hangouts is so amazing? What are the little crumbs?
Ingress, massive battle, massive ingress battle.
Is that
I think that was a big thing.
Is that something I can download on Google Play? What does that mean? What does that mean?
Well, they had a huge ingress battle the night before. Basically, around I/O now, before there were never any hangout parties, like after dark parties, and now there are so many parties going on. It's almost, Facebook had a party, not Spotify, Lookout had a party. All these people had parties that's going around the ecosystem of just Google, which I find refreshing, and I like to see more of that.
Two big things, well, not big things, but two small-ish things that happened, or less big. Google is now coming out with a Samsung Galaxy S4 with stock Android on it, unlocked at its retail price of $649. And also, Google is making a play for education with a special Android education store with educational apps in it. So they're really going after Google's turf there.
Okay.
But Fraser Spears, who is a very big, he's in Scotland, I think, but he's very big on tech education, and he actually rolled out iPads in the school he works in. Tweeted that Google Play for Education is something that people who aren't teachers design for teachers. So it's something that Google thinks teachers want to use. This is what they think that they need, but they probably didn't talk to teachers to get any input on it. Because
as a teacher, I honestly don't want teachers' opinions, but that's a different story.
Well, every teacher is different, but it doesn't seem like this is something that would do well in his school, at least.
For teachers on the keyboards, you have to design in any key. But that's a different. Again, like I said,
if we don't want teachers' opinions, we don't want teachers' opinions on whether or not we want teachers' opinions. Okay, so we have 1 minute left. I would like Chaim to acknowledge in this last minute that he's losing to me miserably in Fitbit steps. As of
the last 7-day total, which includes 2 weekend days where I don't walk a lot,
you make it sound like you're not allowed to walk during the weekends, and as though
I don't.
Okay.
Just
that's
Justin
why
just
you're
throws it in
losing.
the dryer and runs it.
That's why you're losing. It's because you don't walk on the weekends. You make it sound like that's a valid excuse. You said you were going to beat me handily, and I don't know that you beat me a single day.
I think I have, but we're okay. Yes, I lost to Justin as of right now.
Okay, all right. So tune in for episode 93 of inThirty, where we'll cover the Hangouts unification, maps, and hardware that was announced at Google I/O 2013. Thanks for listening.